y'all ready? Are we ready? Woo! So, Shantré, please introduce yourself a little bit about what you want us to know. We've let everybody know that you are a local photographer, super talented. You guys have had the chance to take a look at some of Shantré's work. Follow her on Instagram, Shantré Verite on Instagram. Beautiful work. And what's the name of your other Instagram?
Color Life Pick.
Color of Life, right?
Color Life Pick.
Color Life Pick on
and
Instagram.
That's pick with P-I-C. That's it.
As in short for picture.
Yeah.
So those are two accounts you need to be following on Instagram.
It's a pleasure being here and watching this too. This is my first time actually watching the movie. I've seen the first 2 minutes in, I think, at film school. I don't know how someone got a hold of it, but we watched the first 2 minutes of them, and I never saw it again. So I was like very excited that to get to see the film and know one of the boys who's now a man and a producer who works in LA and Atlanta as well, but he was one of the kids at the bus stop who was asked to take a photo of him. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about your work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my work, well, I love film and photography. So actually, I delve in doing filmmaking as well as photography. But the main, what I do primarily with, it just creates stories. Sometimes it's hard for me to say I'm just a photographer or just a filmmaker. I'm really a storyteller. So, and I use photography, still photography, motion pictures, spoken word, written word to tell stories. And the purpose of that is really to bring people together, inspire, ask some questions maybe we haven't asked, or answer some things that, perhaps we had questions about. But social commentary as well, like togetherness too.
So in the film that we just watched, we have the main character, Pica, choose the subject of taking photos of black men because she feels that they are a dying breed. How would you, I would say, like, what's one of the most, personal subjects that you've done, like a photography, or has been a photography subject? I can't speak English today, so thanks. Swear to God, I wrote it down, but now it's not making any sense. All right, thanks.
No, I understand. Yeah, I totally understand. So I'm not originally from the Bay. I'm not from the Bay Area at all. I grew up in New York, and I lived as well in Atlanta. I moved up here from LA when I got into grad school at Academy of Art in San Francisco. And the cheapest place that I could find, of course, was at that time, was Bayview Hunters Point, San Francisco. And I don't know if you guys know the history of that area, but what was it, in the year 2006, that area was noted as the #1 cause of death just in that area was homicide. And then I think the second was due to either asthma or, because of the old Navy Yard, the history of that place is just, it's mind-blowing. But people have a lot of, either deal with asthma or have dealt with cancer, things like that, because of the old Navy Yard, the shipyard, and the soil, and that's still a problem even now. So I was really, there was something that we would normally hear gunshots. It was not rare, it was a common occurrence. Like, it was like every day, every week, we know what was a gunshot and what was a firecracker. It was just, you would just know that like that. And I used to work with kids in that area too, like 5th graders. and Double Rock, Alice Griffith. What, yeah, I'm definitely connected to the story because as I'm gearing up for my thesis film, I'm thinking like what to write and the things that bother me. And but what bothered me, and this is common, like, because we're all human beings. If we're susceptible to, oh, that's the right word, to bad news or violence, we immediately get we can get numb to it, and that's what bothered me. I would hear gunshots, and then I would put my earphones on. I'll just go to sleep because I didn't know. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do, and I just was. I knew as a kid, like making stories, writing was like that's a gift. Like whatever gift you have, just keep using it because no matter what, little, no matter what you think if it's minute, it really does help to heal not only other people but yourself, and that's when I needed.
I'm glad you said that because I think one of my questions was, as a Black woman, do you feel any sort of, I don't know, like responsibility to use, Black people as subjects, and what do you believe that your role as a photographer is in terms of if you are choosing to tell what we're going to call Black stories, what do you feel that your role is?
Yeah. So first question, yes, definitely. After I did my short thesis film, it was about a young man who works in a crisis response team network, which is actually real in that area. They would respond to families who either lost their loved ones due to gang violence, or would help with setting up counseling, grief counseling, things like that. And I wanted people needed to hear these stories, and that's why that's so necessary. And if you bottle it up too much, it's not healthy. So you have to release it and share that. I wanted people to know that they were seen, that they were heard, and that they were cared about too. Because I'm not sure what the percentage of Black people in Bayview Hunters Point is now. When I lived there several years ago, it was like 3%. I think in the 70s or 60s, it was 17%. And after the film, I did the doc photography project, Lest We Forget, a portrait of Bayview Hunters Point, just grabbing people off the street. Asking them, hey, can I take your photo for this project? Are you from here? Which part? And just have them. I didn't want people to forget about, about the people here, and due to the high rate of rent and people being pushed out, and people dying and things like that.
So how do you take on that role of trying to get the stories out so that the stories of these people aren't forgotten, and that you are being able to tell them in a sense on behalf of these people, and yet not feel that you are in any way exploiting people?
That was something that I was really sensitive to, because when I lived there, I lived in the area for about 5 years. I worked in the area there for about 3. But just getting to know the people, and that's the most powerful thing, like genuinely. And it's amazing because I used to live like right across the street from Surfside Liquors, which is right down the hill from Hunters Point. I don't know if anyone knows Uncle Bob. People call him Uncle Bob. It's no relation, but but everybody calls him that. He's been there since the 70s. He has a liquor store there, but he gives to people, and he's there for people, I see that, and people are there for him, but folks look out for one another. And, when you're in that area, you're not originally from there, you just look out for one another and be generally open. And as quiet as I was, and as quiet as some folks were around me, they became comfortable. I became comfortable with them. They became comfortable with me. And that's the way to do it if you ever want to just be real, just be real.
So I thought that this is going to be the last thing I'm going to ask, and then I'll take it out to you guys to have questions. But one of the things that really hit me when I was watching the film was that you have this teacher, talking very well about what other people are doing and how original they're being, and yet he's insisting on the medium that she's using. Even though she finds that medium accessible, right? Like using a Polaroid, she says, what do you expect me to have all that money to, shoot on a 35 millimeter? And I thought that's,
then she's thinking about the other people's, and respecting the other people by, showing them what, photos she's taking of. And I was like, that's what we got to think about. Like, think ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was deep. It was, and it was showing a respect of like her community about why she was shooting in the way that she was shooting. And so I was like, even in thinking about that, just because from my personal thing, I do worry a lot about exploiting people and for the sake of telling stories, but also looking at where we are now because of technology. And now the ability to tell stories has really widened up, right? Like the barriers to entry are so low now. But at the same time, I question, how impactful is it to see somebody's Instagram? And don't get me wrong, because I love your Instagram, so that's why I keep pimping it. Shantré Verité, just saying. Versus people coming here and being able to, see these pictures live and having those live exhibition spaces, which in this film I really enjoyed the idea that she had the garden, we'll call it like the photo garden, and with the altars that people were able to walk through and interact with. How important do you think interaction is with art, or even how you want people to interact with your art?
That's really important for me. I mean, it's the artist's, decision or point of view, but I think connecting with the audience in a way, the viewers in a way where they can be a part of the story themselves or find some kind of connection to it. I like that. And when I was thinking about doing this exhibit, I was like, I want to do something big and, big, photos, and I had things planned, and I was like, wait, that's not what I initially wanted for the story. I wanted something more intimate, folks to be kind of close and connected, so I just ended up making them shorter. I was like, that's simple. Just keep it simple, Sean. Keep it simple. But yeah, I thought that was really important for me. Because in a sense, I mean, I want to be able to help and change and heal, in areas that are either dealt from past or trauma or things like that, and then for others as well to feel that way, to experience that way, to go around a healing.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Shantré? Excuse me.
I am not so much a visual arts person. I'm more like music arts, but you were talking about how important it is for people to come out and interact physically with the art. And it's so weird to hear my voice like this. And I super agree. I haven't been out to visual art spaces too much, but the few times that I have, it's been very powerful, and it's been, encouraging. But also at the same time, my question for you is, can you think of a way to, or have you thought of this, just kind of making it a little bit more accessible? Because I know these spaces are here, and I know that the spaces are around when I want to go see them, but I feel like I don't know if it's just my community or my generation or whatever, but I feel like art or coming out to physically see art isn't accessible because of other everyday concerns, or maybe it's not part of the culture, or maybe you just don't know that it's there and you're not necessarily interested, but more because you don't know what it's like. So I'm curious to know if you've thought about that or if you have any thoughts on it.
On spaces and
Maybe just like how to maybe engage people more. I guess in understanding how beneficial it would be for them to come into art spaces.
yeah, that's really good because that's something I think it will require a bit more for me, more like testing and testing and seeing what works and what helps and things like that. The new project that I'm working on, I've been thinking of 5 different ideas of how to get it to people besides exhibiting or installation, actually physically printing a book, having the film as well, audio, spoken word audio, and yeah, I would just have to, I'm gonna have to practice that and learn and see what would work and just continue on it. But I think it's like an ongoing thing. I thought as well about doing web work and things like that to, yeah, to get it to people.
Yeah. I'm just going to make a quick thing because I got the microphone and I can. In terms of educating like audiences, God, that's so difficult. I can just say from like all of the work that we put in to try to market these events, it really is a trial and error and just saying like, what do people react to? What do they want to hear? What are the right words they need to see that will capture, their attention? And you're constantly thinking like, how can I capture people's attention? Because I know that this is awesome. I just don't know how to let them know it's awesome. So I definitely know that this is the work of a lot of people who deal with marketing in general is how do we reach audiences, and different audiences need to hear different things, and if you figure it out, let me know. Any other questions?
All right, so my name is Dean. I would just like to acknowledge your work that's on the wall. I like the fact that it's raw and of course real. And I feel as if there are groups of people out there that are interested in arts like this. It's just, for me, I would like to know more about the people's stories. How did you decide which stories to have plastered up on the wall? Because they seem again real, and I have experienced some of their trials and errors. So how were you able to decide
Oh, I see what you're saying.
which stories to add to the pictures or on your wall?
Great question.
It's Do It Afraid. Do It Afraid. But it, actually was, I would go by what, I guess either point by the colors, and I couldn't just stick to black and white. Like, I love black and white, but I fell in love with some colors, some photo colors that I thought made sense to how I feel about, or what the emotion behind, or what I feel the emotion is behind the words to the photos. So I would just connect how I felt to that, to whatever piece, to whatever, like Blue is the name he gave me. I would just connect some of the photos from the 4x6s to how that made me feel visually. But I'm not quite sure how to explain it. It just feels right, or, like, okay, yeah, okay, I hope so.
Any Other questions?
I have one in that the history of what is happening, I didn't get a chance to look carefully at everything, but some of the things that really are significant that happened and the perspective you took of that are so significant in creating the history of these significant moments. And I was, wanting a feedback comment that how that is going to impact the future, because if we don't tell our story, that's you, and our concerns, and that it often gets misinterpreted in history is how we present it. And these are so significant in saying, these are the moments, see it, feel it. Here it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I remember when it inspired me to move to make some other changes as our stories, like for example, seeing Gordon Parks' work. I don't know if you guys know Gordon Parks. He's so dope, and he lived to be like 94 years old. YouTube him, you're gonna love him. Anyway, he besides being the filmmaker, he did like Shaft and The Learning Tree. He was the first Black filmmaker of Life magazine, but his images, when I first saw his images, it was later on in life too, that I saw Black folks, Black couples, like he had these photos of families, and I grew up with a single mom, so seeing these families, I was like, oh, this is beautiful, and this is, back in the 50s, 60s, and I wanted to represent something that either was in, desire, or what maybe I didn't normally see when I was a kid on television. Folks smiling, and kids smiling, Black folks smiling, and things like that. Black men, and I think that's important to share that, to show that. But I think that will help inspire other people, just like Gordon Parks. I hope that's my desire, that like Gordon Parks and other folks, other amazing photographers inspired other folks today. That I will, in turn inspire other people to see stories that we haven't seen, or images we haven't seen mostly a lot.
I do also want to give a special shout out to April Martin. She is the other photographer's work that is up there. And she wasn't able to make it today, but do know that work, I wish she would have been able to be here and be able to speak about it, but a lot of those powerful images are also hers. And with that said, thanks again to our sponsor, Acknowledgement Foundation. And they are really about trying to push social justice here in Oakland. And thank you, Shantré, for letting us grill you and being on the hot seat.
The giraffe looks amazing, by the way.
Yes, and the giraffe. Y'all can take pictures in front of that, because that's our, what do you call them? Our mascot, our giraffe mascot. That took a lot of time, believe it or not. It's magical. And we really hope that we see you next month. April 21st, because it's the third Sunday of April, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're going to have food, we're going to have a panel, and we're going to have a movie, and it's all free. So we hope to see you here. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.